Another horrible week. Obama dragging us by the neck into the neo-Marxist nation of the new Venezuela. You think I'm being, I'm doing hyperbole. You're wrong. A lot of people earn a real living. Do you realize that the upper 2% of earners pay 50% of all income tax in America? Do you realize what Obama's doing by appealing to the lower income people or the no income people? By appealing to the lowest common denominator, it is very simple to get yourself reelected. It has been done by dictators in the past. It is not really the way to run a country because ultimately the productive citizens stop producing. There's no point in making an investment if you're not going to get a return on your investment. You look at any restaurant, you look at any business, whether it's a guy who opens up a hardware store, opens up a drapery store, or whatever the service is, he's got to take a risk. It's called risk capital. That's capitalism. So he or she says, you know what, I'll invest $100,000, $90,000 of my hard-earned money, and if I buy this, that, and the other thing, I'll provide services, and maybe I'll make $50,000 a year, or whatever the numbers may be. Now, why would somebody make that investment if they're only going to be punished and have to give up the potential profits, should they make any, to a bunch of deadbeat bums who don't even belong in the country? Because a good portion of this money is not going to go to American poor. It's going to go to illegal alien poor. I don't think you understand how bad this really is, but when you look at the level of demagoguery coming out of the mouths of people like Dick Durbin, who, by the way, should be focused upon very carefully since he is now running with the football of totalitarianism and that he wants to kill talk radio because he has something to hide, obviously. I've noticed that those who have the most to hide are the ones most loudly calling for the return of the unfairness doctrine. For example, Dianne Feinstein. She's richer than God. Her and her husband have made fortune upon fortune. What is it that she is so worried about that I might say that she wants me silenced? You have to ask yourself these questions. Now, having said that on this show today, I want to go all the way back. I want to back up and not get overly excited for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm not going to. Two, because I don't want to. And three, because it's unnecessary for me to make my points. My audience is secured. No matter how I do it, I could do it humorously, I could do it by yelling and screaming, or I could do it quietly, and you're going to listen anyway. That's why my audience is here. It's because of what I'm saying, really, almost not how I'm saying it. Because you know I'm right. And even those of you who are on the other side of the aisle, you sense that I know what I'm talking about, and you want to get the opposite opinion to draw your own conclusion. So I'm going to now permit those of you who normally consider yourselves to be liberals to listen to what I'm about to say. I am seeing criticism of Obama on a regular basis coming from the Republican Party, and you'd expect this. But it's nothing that I didn't predict would happen. For a year, I was grousing that Bush was spending us into oblivion, that Bush wouldn't win a war that should have been won 5 years ago, et cetera, and so on. And I said the Republicans have ceased to criticize him because they're rolling in pig dirt. They've never had it so good. As long as the money's flowing in, they're not going to criticize Bush. And I said, wait until you see when Bush loses. I mean, when Bush is gone and a Democrat wins, if that should happen, wait till you see the Republicans who have been silent for the last 2 or 3 years are suddenly going to start screaming about all the issues that they used to be, concerned about. And here they are again. Conservative Congress somewhere in Washington, the usual suspects giving the usual speeches about we've got to stop big government. Where were they when Bush was spending us into oblivion? Where were they when Bush was spending and creating a government bigger than the previous 4 administrations put together? I was here. I've always been a fiscal conservative because I started with nothing, and I don't want to end up with nothing. And I want you to remember something. I created the phrase trickle-up poverty during the campaign. I tried to get McCain to use it. I knew he could have sunk Obama with that line. He didn't want to do it for obvious reasons. The old man didn't want to win. He was a fall guy. He was set up to fall. They wanted a Democrat to win so they can continue the move towards the one-world government, in my opinion. And so McCain, the front man, the strange Manchurian candidate like McCain, did not use trickle-up poverty. But that's exactly what Obama's doing. He's making trickle-up poverty occur. Not immediately, but that's what he intends to do. And he's got to be stopped because it'll kill the economy totally. Try to envision Eastern Europe before the collapse of the wall. Try to envision a butcher store in Poland pre-Glasnost. Try to envision people lined up around the block with one salami hanging in the window. That's where we're going to go. I don't mean tomorrow, Now you say, well, how could that happen? What you don't seem to understand are the basics of economics. I will repeat them to you. Why should a butcher, no, let's go back to the farmer. Why should a farmer raise a pig if the government is either going to make the cost of raising that pig prohibitive, either with red tape regulations or with taxation, when he has such a slim profit margin to begin with that it becomes unworthwhile to raise that pig or that cow? And you go all the way up the line to the butcher. Why should the butcher invest in buying meats for his store on credit when he may not be able to sell those meats? And so, therefore, the entire system starts to implode. And what you wind up with is one bologna hanging in a butcher store. Now, you say it can't happen here. That's because many of you were spoiled, and you grew up in the post-60s or post-70s America, where it was a land of plenty, and you never, suffered for anything. You never really worked in your life. You came out of school and thought that the world would be your oyster. All you had to do was get high in order to get by. I listen to people looking for jobs, and what you hear them saying is, I networked and I couldn't find anything. Now, who are they networking with? Other people with pointy shoes seeking orgasms? They generally don't have any jobs for you, honey, and you have no skills. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm putting you down. I'm just telling you, you're in a competitive world and there are no jobs for you. And if you think that by taxing the rich, that means anybody grossing more than $250,000, which we warned you about during the campaign, and Obama lied about during the campaign, you're going to deter people from making the investments necessary to build the economy.